you might have constant battles because at some point in every business life cycle, you have to take a leap of faith, and that involves risk. Okay, people who are risk averse all the time are going to keep holding you back. And at some point you have to take the risk to say, is this even worth my time anymore?
Yeah. And this could be a whole episode in and of itself, but making the decision of, like, especially early on as a company, you might be compensating someone with equity early on, which means you're actually making them your partner. And so now there's a whole other level of, how do I vet this person for, do I want to be making decisions with them for the next 5+ years about this product? And if you bring a bunch of people in and you go, great, I'm fully staffed, I have accounting, marketing, finance, I have every department I need, and everyone just got 10%. If you ever have to go raise money, you're screwed, Well,
you can dilute it all. But once again, our model is never to touch the cap table or equity early on. And we like to build companies on royalty models and sales, and equity will come, or selling equity, and investors will come. But you also have to know what you really need, because money is just money if it's not tied to other skills and other networks.
Right. Well, and it comes back to what you were saying about knowing what you bring to the table and what you're good at, because you might know, listen, I know this sales network, I know the distribution for this product, I know how to do it. I need help with the engineering side. That might be something worth bringing a partner in for, versus saying, oh, I need someone to do my books. You can probably just pay out for that hourly as that gets done. You probably don't need to bring someone into the fold. Even though you may not be good at accounting, you may not need to hire someone to do accounting full time yet. So it goes back to kind of having that self-knowledge. But I would say that's, looking back on what I've done and what I haven't done, that's probably my biggest failure and my biggest shortcoming, is being so product focused and not enough team focused.
And I'll bring up one thing, because we have a lot of client partners that are lawyers. People always try to make a lawyer a partner, and you have to understand the career they're in. Their job is to shoot holes in everything and to say no to everything most of the time. The greatest lawyers in the world, they're looking for the things we don't. Yeah. Not always a great entrepreneurial growth or scale partner. Yeah. And do you really need them? Yeah, maybe as a board of advisors, board of directors, there's different places, but to say you're a partner, you might have constant battles, because at some point in every business life cycle, you have to take a leap of faith, and that involves risk. Okay, people who are risk averse all the time are going to keep holding you back. And at some point you have to take the risk to say, is this even worth my time anymore?
Yeah.
And that's the hardest thing for most people, is to kill their companies.
Yeah. Well, and doing that risk profile assessment, it's something we've talked about a bunch over the years, but you might have people that toss money at you that want to be involved, and they're the wrong partner, not because they don't have the money, and maybe not even because they don't have the network. But if their risk profile isn't the same as where you're at in your life cycle stage, that could be a recipe for disaster too. And so having the right team with the right risk profile, with the right kind of goals, it's not a small task to be able to do that, but that's kind of the task at hand, especially as an early stage company.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a great point, because I've been there to where someone's.
Why'd you give him great point? And all he gave me was good.
Well, he gave us. I would have said great point.
Oh, thank you.
You did the right thing. Yeah.
Well, he went to Babson.
Yeah. Oh, thank you very much. I did go to Babson. That is
They better pay a very big sponsorship. Yeah. That was a very great point. The guy over there.
You were saying I made a great point. I think we can just leave it right there. I think I did make a great point.
He's in the little seat.
When I was early on in a startup company looking for money and I needed a lot of capital, I made that mistake of the people who throw the biggest dollar amount at you. Yeah, that's great to get the most amount of money, but you're totally right, is they might not work with you at all on the company, or they might expect too much in return, or just have unrealistic expectations.
Yeah. You're not wrong. And I'd also love to add to the same thing about the lawyers. I'd throw engineers in that category too. And you know that I have a
love-hate.
Yeah, I got a love-hate relationship with engineers. But a great engineer is great at poking holes in something, and he or she has his or her toolbox of how they analyze a design and go through. That doesn't necessarily make them great creatively. That doesn't necessarily make them great at creatively solving a problem in your design. They can tell you you need 5 bolts there of this size with this strength instead of the 2 you have there, but they may or may not be the one to bring into the fold where you say, this is my idea, how do I do it?
It's also a lot of times with inventors, they go to the industry they think they're playing in, and they only circle themselves with people from that industry. And you miss the market's perspective because the market doesn't know what the hell you're doing. Yeah. Like there's nobody that comes out with a product and everybody's like, oh, I get exactly what that does, right? We all have our own nuance, and some of it doesn't apply, we don't pay any attention to it. Yeah. But to have that outside, and that's why we love advisory boards when we're setting up companies for clients. We're like, don't start with the board of directors. Yeah. One is because their job is to replace you as the owner or the CEO, right? That's their only job. Yeah. Do a board of advisors that are not all from the same industry. You need industry contact in there, but you also need fresh perspective. And I'm pointing to him because we go back and forth all the time because he just sees the world differently.
Yeah.